Hello, hello, hello. It's your new day with Donna Reiners and Dr. Kami Owen, where we solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one. And maybe it's yours. In our 30 minutes, we talk about your emotions and mind and how they tie into your body and spirit. We want you to renew and restore yourself in a world that wants you crazy. And sometimes we even talk about money. Introducing your hosts, Donna Reiners and Dr. Kami Owen.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Donna Reiners and this is Dr. Kami Owen. And we're so glad to be here with you. Thank you for joining us. And we have a topic today that many would find uncomfortable, and it's deep. I mean, we're deep water anyway, so. But we're going to talk about loss and pain. And before I start, I just want you to know, we don't have answers. You know, we think we have answers, but really, many times we think we have answers to things that there may not be answers to, and the answers we have may be totally wrong anyway. But in this human experience, we're sorting out life. You know, we have both experienced pain and loss. And I don't know how much Kami will share, but my loss includes, well, we're talking about the death of people. Mm-hmm. We could definitely talk about the loss of different things that we've, we could, but we're not going to tonight. Today's literally about the loss of human life. So my mom's passing when I was 18. My best friend who passed 6 months prior to that. This was 43 years ago. There was another a young girl in our class that had gone into a coma and passed like 3 months after being in a coma. This was, again, many, many years ago. Our dad passed away of gangrene 25 years ago. My sister passed away of complications, but mostly from congestive heart failure that took a long time to be in the making. It wasn't just that. It was really a lifestyle that brought all that on, but over a 30-year time frame. And, of course, there was trauma and all sorts of things involved in that. It's deep water. I'm sure we'll both share something, but right now I'm a little stumped because there's a recent loss. And you know, when you don't have a current pain spot, that's when you kind of, well, it's this and this, and we got this going on and that going on. But when it's like right in your face, all the answers we have about knowing that we're eternal beings and knowing that we'll live again and knowing that we've always been alive and knowing that we probably have always known each other, these things that are inside of our heart somehow still in the moment are weak compared to facing, wow, I'll not see this person on this side again, you know. And so, Dr. Kami, you've experienced personal loss. I don't know if you want to share any of that or not, but please share your heart.
I was just thinking, since October of last year, I've had 17 people die in my circle. 17. And it all started out with, I'll share it with my brother. My brother actually took his life in October. And talk about a shock.
So that started it from October?
Started it. 17 since October.
Well.
Now 18.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was interesting because we were, at the time he passed, we were not super close. We were close as children, and then he went a path that was, you know, drew a divide between us. And I always, you know, loved him and wanted to have a relationship with him. He just, it wasn't like he didn't like me or anything. He just was on a different path. And so I was very shocked. I remember the week before he died. I can tell you exactly where I was on the street. I was driving in my car, and I said, man, I wonder how I'm going to feel when my brother dies. I don't know why that popped in my head,
Oh, wow.
but it did.
Oh, my goodness.
And I went through this whole scenario of how I'm going to feel. And how
A week before he actually left the planet.
Yes. And I was like, and I went through the whole scenario in my mind of how that would look and how that'll look for my parents, how that'll look for my family, how that'll look for his family. He had 2 families. And I really naively thought it probably won't affect me that much. I don't really have interaction with him every day and all this, all these things. This is what I was logically thinking during this time. And then I get this call from my niece, and I'm at the clinic. I don't answer my cell phone, and people that know me, much to my husband's, it drives him crazy. I'm not a slave to my phone at all. It's somewhere around, and if I hear it, I'll answer it. If I don't, I won't. But I have one because, it's kind of required now. But anyway, I just happened to be in my office charting and about to go see another patient, and the phone rings, and it's my niece. And I see the phone, and I just knew I had to answer the phone. And she said, I think my dad just died, and I don't know how to tell my mom.
Oh, my.
And I was like, it took me a minute to go, wait, what? That I had
You mean my brother?
Yes, like my brother? Your dad, my brother? And she goes, yes. And I oh my God, what happened? And long story short, they watched the whole thing unfold on cameras, security cameras, because they were in another state. And he was not responding to the phone and not responding to the door, so they had the sheriff come, and it was the whole thing. Anyway, found out, we at first we just thought he died, that he had some kind of medical event and died, and then it was an hour or two later we found he took his life. So I had the job of telling my parents, and that was very tough. And then they live an hour and a half from me, so they get in the car to drive to our house. And my husband's and he's Arab, and so the Arabs show up when you have a loss like this.
It's a community.
Yes, they literally show up, and whether you think you want them to or need them to, they show up anyway, and it's awesome. It really is awesome.
Yeah.
And so my parents knew that. Even they said, we're going to come to your house because everybody will show up. And so
and y'all been married how long?
We've been together 39 years.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So,
we know.
Yes. And so then in between the time they were driving to the time they came to my house, that's when I found out he had taken his life. And knowing my father, and he has a very strict religious belief around suicide. So I knew it was going to devastate him, because I know his belief is there's no way my brother can go to heaven because he took his life. Mm-hmm. I don't personally share that belief, but I know my dad well enough that that's what he's going to, how he's going to be. Mm-hmm. And so and there's a house full of people now, and I know they're going to walk in, so I have to intercept them before the door. And I told them I have more difficult news to, and I'm trained to deliver difficult news. I worked in the emergency room for 20 years. That's all difficult news, right, in the emergency room. But it's different when you're saying it to your parents, and it's, watching the devastation on their face,
Yeah.
And
it's personal.
And nobody should bury their child. No parent should bury their child. So anyway, that was awful, and but it just started this domino effect.
Yeah.
But the whole reason of this story is, even though it was a profound loss, and it hit me so hard, I never saw what was coming. I mean, it was like a freight train that hit me, and going through that grief and going through that loss and going through all that, on the other side of this was tremendous healing for our family, because there was a lot of estrangement. There was estrangement with his wife that didn't like me for some reason I'm still unclear on, because we had maybe 20 words in our entire life together. Anyway, I invited her to come stay at our house, and I said, we're having a service. If you would like to come, you're welcome. And first she didn't want any part of it, and and I said, okay, and I don't know the man you knew. The man I knew was a little different than the guy you're describing. I would love to meet that guy through you.
Yeah.
Can you at least offer me that? And she did, and she came, and
Precious.
it really was, and she stayed with us for a week, and we got to know each other,
So
and
precious.
and my mom was estranged from her brother and sister, and I just encouraged her. I said, don't make this death purposeless.
Yeah.
And so I said, pick up the phone and call your brother.
Yeah.
Why he's there. You think you'll always have him. You won't. And so pick up the phone, and she did. And they had like a 30-year estrangement. And then she did the same with her sister. And so now she and her brother and her sister are all in contact. I'm in contact with I've always been in contact with my niece, but this really brought us much closer. And his wife, we are now, interact with each other and everything. So it's been a healing process as well. So these things happen sometimes, and we can't make sense out of them, and because our logical brain wants to make sense out of them, but if you look for the blessing, because it's always there, whether you can admit that to yourself or not, it's always there. It
sounds like that situation with him was a bridge for so many relationships.
Absolutely.
It was like a divine bridge.
Absolutely. So look for that in your loss, while you're going through it. And something else I've been pondering for the last couple of days after I suffered another loss, number 18, is I believe we're eternal beings, okay? In our DNA, in our energetic DNA, because there's a physical DNA, but there's also an energetic DNA. It's like the hard drive that everything's saved on.
Yep.
And so in that energetic DNA, we are wired eternal beings, right?
Oh, yes.
So when we come into this dense body that doesn't hang around for, even now, like 70, 80 years, which is ridiculous. I think our body could last way more than that, but that's a whole nother show we'll talk about.
Yes, it is.
But the loss comes from that mismatch of our eternal being and what's actually in there. Like, this is the programming. We are eternal beings. We are forever. And then this loss happens because it's finite. It's like, that doesn't compute because that's not who we are. And I believe this is the world according to Kami. That I really believe that's part of our profound loss, is it just doesn't compute this eternalness and this disconnect with this finite life body. There's no connection there, and we have a hard time reconciling it, is the word I'm looking for. So I've been really kicking that around for the last couple of days, of why it's so profound when it happens. And that's I think there's something to that.
I think part of it may be these are just the thoughts. We're here to solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one. Maybe it'll be yours. Maybe it'll just be ours tonight, right? So I believe that, and this is something I felt like God showed me years and years ago before I even got unreligiousized. So it was kind of shocking for me at the time. But I had this revelation about how when God created, when he breathed out that ruach and breathed out that light, breathed out that life, what I saw is that, now please don't get all weird on me, but I saw that all our spirits were created all at the same time. Now, I recognize there are many that think that we've always been, meaning we're all in God, from God. Well, I believe that as well. What I'm saying is, and again, we don't have all the answers, right? But when it came to this earth experience, that what if, when the breath came forth and he said, let there be light, that we are the light.
Yes.
that it wasn't just the sun and the moon, and all those took place, but then it came forth, and then he created Adam and Eve. And, and whether you believe that was one person or whether it was many, it doesn't matter, But we are light. Our bodies are light. Our insides are light. And so I was thinking to myself, when you were processing, I was thinking, well, if we truly have been here from the beginning, from the foundations of the world, says Ephesians 2, could it be that over time we've forgotten that we are light? We've forgotten not just the science that we are light, but that we are light, that we are from God, that we are from the breath of the Creator, the one that we're inside the one who created all, that we've forgotten. And when you live without the memory of who you really are, it would make sense that loss would hit us so strongly, because we've forgotten that I knew you when we were all created.
Right.
That we've forgotten we were in a relationship before we ever came to the planet of the earth. And those of you who are looking at me going, are you talking about reincarnation? I don't know about that. What I do know is that as spirit beings, we're alive. And spirits don't just get born and die. We're alive. And I do believe that there is an essence of perhaps time travel or that kind of thing, which again would be a different time to discuss. But if we've forgotten who we were, and we all knew each other in the beginning, and we are that multitude of witnesses that were already created, and then we live our lifetime, and then we return to the multitude of witnesses, which we are from anyway, because we are who we are, could it just be that simple that we've forgotten? But on this planet, it's hard because we want to continue in this earthly frame, because this is what we know. We framed our world in this natural, this thing that we feel. We can feel one another. We framed our life in this. And I think that's where the pain comes in. That's where the fear comes in. That's where anxiety comes in. That's where loss comes in. It's like, oh my goodness, this is what I know. But we've forgotten that we know so much more.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I think also that's part of the experience of God wanting to experience, and you can't.
You mean God inside wanting to experience?
Yes,
okay, go ahead.
That we come in because we have this physicality to actually have emotions, and emotions is energy and motion through matter. That's what it is. So when we're out of the body, I don't believe we have the same experience of emotions that we do. I think the only emotion we have outside of the body is love, the love vibration. But I don't believe we have all this pain and sorrow unless you're trapped in this etheric realm around the earth. Spirits that are disincarnated and all that. But it's another show. I don't know if we'll agree on that, but anyway.
Probably not. Isn't that awesome? You can be friends with somebody you don't agree with.
That's okay. We haven't even got into extraterrestrials yet. We haven't got into extraterrestrials yet. But
don't be alien with me.
I will not. I might be a little bit. Anyway, and the fact that you can have these emotions and go through them and experience them, and it's you have an emotion but you're not your emotions. You can have the experience of an emotion, and that's where a lot of people get sick, is they squish their emotions. They do not let the emotion come all the way through. It gets stuck. It literally crystallizes in the body and has a physical effect.
Which is what energy healing is, by the way, is displacing what's stuck.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. Do it all day long.
Which we both do in our own way.
Yes. So the loss, talking about it is a way of processing it through the body. But, the biggest way to do that is just feel it. Just sit with the loss. And I did that last night. I actually went and filled my tub up. I got a bunch of Epsom salt, so that helps dissipate the energy. And I just I cried. I was really really mad about the situation. So I let myself just be really mad. And I told my husband, I'm going to go in here and
I'm gonna be mad for a little bit.
I'm going to be what I got to be, Yeah. And I did. And it was very cathartic. And it was, felt healing, and then I was able to actually send, love and energy to the other people that I think required it last night.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always come out on the other side with another piece of me that I didn't remember, if you will. And so it was, but, I'm just going to say it still sucks sometimes.
It does suck. I know, and I know I refer back to my mom's passing a lot. I think because I was so young,
Yeah.
and I was like an only child, even though there were 3 sisters. But because I did not deal with it, okay, I did not touch it.
Mm.
I did not cry for 12 years.
Mm.
And that was trapped inside of me.
Mm.
And when I did, really, after going through spiritual experiences, similar to your dad's probably, and then going on a journey to hear and to know for myself, you learn so much about yourself, and you decide. I couldn't get free. The spiritual part of me was unable to free the emotional part of me that was not able to bear the fruit that we talk about so much in our holy books. And that troubled me, getting to know this big God who knew everything, that loved everyone, and knowing he lived within me, not being able to get free, didn't make sense to me. And so, I beat myself up against that for, a couple of decades. So when I finally decided I've got to be free, I actually was invited to go someplace, which now I look at and go, what was I thinking? But intention is everything. Mm-hmm. And I went to this place. It was a 7-hour drive to Georgia. It was a campus where they did all demonic deliverance. That's all they were known for. That's still all they're known for. That's it. And I went, and they dealt with things that, and now my belief system is completely different now, but they dealt with things like witchcraft, like deep fears so much that you're taking foil and lining your entire home with it because you can't allow, like we're talking deep things, okay? Wow. I'm not talking about, I'm afraid. So, and in that space where these original founders of this organization taught, you literally did get free. Now, whether you got free of something that was demonic or you got free because of the intention and the frequency that you were freed from, I don't really care. Yeah. But I know that when I went, I had an arm that could not lift and had not lifted for a couple of years out of doing a photography gig for 12 hours too long one day because I was excited. And by the end, I was literally fine. So I was completely well. Now, prior to that, I'd been in a situation where someone looked at me and said, I see this really strange smiley face in your shoulder, and it's like a mocking face. I'm like, well, that's interesting. And then someone else came up to me one day and said, I was thinking about you, and I kept thinking the word ancestral, and what's going on with you? And so there are these things we don't understand everything, right? Mm-hmm. But I know that I went into that space with a belief, I'm getting whatever I need to get. Mm-hmm. I'm going to learn what I need to learn, and I'm going to use it. And what I had felt from the voice within like a year prior, because I was in frustration, I felt like God spoke to me and said, I'm about to bring you some tools, so just wait. Wow. And it was literally a year later, I get invited to this thing. And when I left, I knew that was the tool. These are tools. So I implemented those tools just in faith and blind trust. It worked for me, so hallelujah. And that was just part of the journey. Was that only all of it? No, of course not. Is everything a demon? I think actually very few things are demonic. To be quite frank, that got my own little belief system in that now. I think there's a lot of dark frequency out there, and we engage with it, and we create our own issues. But anyway, we're back to loss. I'm just saying that in this journey that we're in, we learned all these things. And some of those things are painful. And if you don't find a place within you where you have some kind of peace, it doesn't mean you have all the answers. These are not about having answers. If you cannot find some peace, you will be trapped inside the same death and the same loss that you've experienced because of these other people.
Yep. And this peace comes from acceptance, accepting what is, and I think that's a big part of healing, is accepting what is and not making it right, not making it wrong. Just it is what it is, and that there is some divinity in it. There is always divinity in it, but having that realization that it's okay because this is what's so, and not resisting it.
I think I resisted when my mom passed.
Mm-hmm.
I resisted feeling. I resisted being true and real. I felt like I was supposed to be mature. I needed to be an adult at 18. I felt this strong blanket of, oh my goodness, I'm alone with my dad, and I'm going to need to help him. And so,
you got sidetracked into you're focused on your life and starting your life, and then all of a sudden,
right,
have it, and there's a big part of it. Every 18-year-old's no, hell no, I ain't doing that kind of thing, and I can imagine there was some of that.
It was quite something.
Wow.
Gosh, we have we love to solve all the world's problems. Today we didn't solve any problems, but we got to discuss some really deep problems that we all have and we all share in. And so, again, we're just you know what? I'm just thankful you trust us with your heart. Because we're discussing all sorts of things, and we just want you to know that we have a love for you. If nobody has told you today that they love you, we're just saying to you that we love you.
Yes.
We may not take you to grow. We may not take you to raise. We may not pay all your bills. we may not do all those things, but we truly have a real heart for you to find peace and love for yourself.
Thank you for joining Your New Day with Donna Reiners and Dr. Kami Owen. We look forward to seeing you next time. Remember, we solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one, and maybe it's yours. Until soon.